racing is crazy intense.
Every lap, I'm nervous, scared.
When I strap that helmet on, it's game on.
Let's go.
Grassroots racing, you can feel electricity in the air.
Are you kidding me?
Kind of like a party where a race breaks out.
Wider wheels and tires. The car can be a lot lighter.
Just nothing like it.
Fans love it.
World Outlaw drivers, NASCAR, IndyCar, regular weekly racers.
Buddy Kofoid can certainly be the next Kyle Larson or Christopher Bell.
He's in another world.
That avenue is gone.
Midget racing ain't gonna get you to Cup.
Tanner Thorson, he's that little brother that you always want to punch.
Everything he has, he's earned. I think that's what makes him successful.
He looked at me and said, "Mom, am I paralyzed? He's an incomplete quadriplegic. This is bad." And what did he say?
Does this mean I don't get to race Chili Bowl anymore?
I wasn't really having any success. And then we found out Ashley was pregnant. And then we found out we had twins coming. Solid.
That trophy is what everybody wants to win.
It's a crown jewel. I want to win another driller.
It's one of them I've wanted for a long time.
The Chili Bowl is the biggest race of the year.
I'm sorry, NASCAR. I'm sorry, Daytona, but this is the biggest effing race I've ever won.
Is a indoor race on a dirt track in a 400,000 square foot building.
300 plus drivers from all over the U.S., from Australia, New Zealand.
In '85, we had the first Tulsa shootout. We ran flat track motorcycles, three-wheelers. But after we got through running it, I got thinking, you know, we could probably run midgets here.
I wasn't here on Saturday night, so I had to do a little guesswork on the race cars.
The first year we had 35 cars. I'm not sure we couldn't introduce the crowd easier than we could introduce the drivers.
I mean, you're not going to get more drivers from more different types of disciplines all in one building.
You know, Tony Stewart gave it a lot of recognition when he won the NASCAR championship, then came to the Chili Bowl and won the Chili Bowl.
Tony Stewart's going to win his second Golden Driller.
Our plan wasn't to run the bottom, and I hate running the bottom, but it sure as hell pays good.
From that, it just slowly grew people of just wanting to be a part of it.
The accessibility you have at the Chili Bowl is very unique.
90% of the building, whether they're racing or not, is there to enjoy the spectacle of it all.
There is just nothing like it.
On paper, it really doesn't make a lot of sense, but we're all kind of crazy about it.
You really have to experience it. It's kind of like a party where a race breaks out.
It means so much because people put so much effort into it. And people put so much effort into it because it means so much, you know? It's a high pressure building.
When you roll down that tunnel and you turn right onto the racetrack and seeing the crowd, that's where the butterflies start to get you.
I tell them whenever they go down the ramp, look straight ahead, don't look right.
I feel like to be successful in a race car, the first thing is to get control of your emotions.
Oh! Larson comes right back at him. Throw the teammate things out of the window.
There's not very many races that you can go and see 70 new cars for 5 nights in a row trying to make a 24-car feature.
Come your prelim feature, you know, they only take 2, and there's always a handful of good guys.
If you're racing in Tulsa while the sun's up on Saturday during the Chili Bowl, you're not doing well.
To me personally, the Chili Bowl is the hardest race to win in midget racing.
I've never been able to do it, so for me to be able to win here is it's a dream come true.
They'll say that there is a lot of luck involved in winning the Chili Bowl, but you really have to create your own luck.
One bad decision will ruin your week.
And Bell goes for a huge ride.
Dog, duck, and dive. That's the Chili Bowl.
Road to the Chili Bowl, presented by Super Clean, is brought to you by General Tire. For whatever you do, General Tire delivers. Rod End Supply. We don't just sell them, we race them. And by Super Clean. Not just clean, super clean.
What it really did was make everyone step their game up. And it all generated from Sammy and Kevin, and people got tired of getting their asses kicked every year.
As he wins his 5th Golden Driller. Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Swindell, the Bulldog, makes it 4 in a row. Are you kidding me?
Looking back, now of kind of where my career went with getting hurt, winning those 4 races left me some legacy to the sport.
The era of the 1-car, 2-car teams is kind of gone.
I think some of them popped up because they were trying to just add another shot or another guy that could get to us those years.
Our
Thorson with the run on the top shelf. Now we'll try to the inside and turn 3, puts a slider on Sammy. New leader here at the Chili Bowl. The crowd goes crazy.
They went from 2 to 3 cars that had a shot at winning, and now there's 20.
Things have changed a lot in dirt racing, but one thing that has not changed is you got to stand on the loud pedal. That's one of my specialties.
Keith Kunz Motorsports essentially started out as Willoughby Racing, dating back to the late 90s when they hired Jason Leffler and Jay Drake from the West Coast to come out and run for Pete Willoughby.
You know, we grew from 2 cars to 4 cars. It just kept growing from there.
Massive effort there out of the Keith Kunz Motorsports team. Keith Kunz Motorsports, the last 4 years consecutively as an owner.
Once you start having success, drivers, they want to get in a car that they're going to get the notoriety in.
To have that, I think, almost gives you a certain swagger and confidence.
Even your guy out there who feels like, you know, he does all the work himself and he's trying to save money, he's still going to spend $100,000 putting a car together or go buy a truck and trailer. We look at it as you're sending your kid to college here. We're a college for motorsports. It's cheaper in the long run, especially because of the knowledge that you buy.
I've won just about as many races by myself now as I was with a big team.
That's how our business survives, is by us doing our job and people leaving here and being successful elsewhere.
I have mad respect for Keith and what he's done.
These guys came through here and rides were given to them for the sole purpose of going and winning races and winning championships. But he's in a house car. That's on Keith Kunz Motorsports dime. There's nobody else's.
Buddy Kofoid continues to impress, career wins 16 and win 137 for Keith Kunz Motorsports.
Buddy Kofoid, boy, got a ripper off the bottom. Buddy Kofoid looked like he was shot out of a cannon. White flag is flown.
So my real name is actually Michael. It started with my dad. He referred to me as his little buddy. Now everyone calls me Buddy and knows me as Buddy. I grew up in Northern California running outlaw karts and got into sprint cars really young. I think I practiced when I was 9 and 10, and then raced for Dan Simpson a little bit when I was 11. Went back to go-karts because I was too young to race anywhere else in California at the time. And finally when I turned 14 is when I was pretty much able to do whatever I wanted on the West Coast sprint car-wise. You know, I always wanted to go to the Midwest. I ran for the Linders with Ed Neumeister and Ray Brooks out in the Midwest, and Keith and Pete were able to keep a closer eye on me, and then they tried me out in 2019.
Here he is around to the front of the car, race fans. Buddy Kofoid, your winner here at Merced. This team just keeps rattling off wins.
Make some noise for Buddy Kofoid.
He came in probably more than anybody with knowledge of what he liked in a race car. He knew what it was to change bars, and he knew what that did for him.
I thought it was fine.
I mean, that's what we run last year.
How you sitting?
Not as good as we'd like to be.
I had no idea that I was going to be signed by Toyota and, you know, be able to race for Keith Kunz and Pete Willoughby, you know, who's the most iconic midget team there is. They changed my life.
So we took him that very first year at the end of the year and put him in the midget some, and a little rough, but you could just see there was something there. All them guys that step in here, you can tell pretty quick whether they're going to make it.
Kofoid rocking and rolling around here. Buddy Kofoid looking to win the James Dean Classic.
Being a wing sprint car driver, felt like you really need to know how to communicate with the crew chief, and Buddy had all that.
Take it off, if you just close off the stacks, you can do fine here. I mean, I don't think you're gonna hurt the filter.
Buddy's just a pure racer that wants to go race anything and everything and race every night.
He's very focused at the racetrack, and I think you see that with a lot of drivers that have success. That's their job. They got one thing to do, and that's to win.
Doing work.
Here comes the 67 car. Watch him now, down into turn number 1.
After winning the USAC title last year, he's really got a good sprint car ride. He got great opportunities, and he's just gotten a better and better race car driver. And now when he races a midget, he's in another world. He's at the top of the class.
I don't know, this whole year I've been pretty relaxed, but going into this West Coast swing compared to last year, way more relaxed.
Has the highest winning percentage in a series history. First
Driver repeat champions is Brian Clausen, 2010 and 2011. Driver champion, Buddy Kofoid.
Eventually, when you get older, you want it to go somewhere, but now I do it to make a living.
I grew up going to Calistoga, and Keith and Pete used to bring their team out, and I used to watch them dominate out there, and I always thought that I wanted to be that guy.
Buddy Kofoid can certainly be the next Kyle Larson or the next Christopher Bell. I mean, he's got the accolades.
Never seen anybody drop the hammer like this.
Waiting to see who's going to snatch him up down south, or if he's going to go the NASCAR route, or maybe we'll see him over across the street at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He's definitely the next big thing coming out of Mitch's sprint cars.
My goal has always been to get the Cup. I grew up a Dale Jr. fan. Every Sunday on TV, Dale Jr. is always my guy. That goal and that dream is still very much the same.
He wanted to go to watch. He would let us know, I'm just going to go watch. I don't want to race this thing.
They worked their way off of turn number 2.
Me and Buddy were battling for 5th in a heat race and putting everything out there on the line.
He pulled up about 5 car length advantage over that 0-1 machine.
Just happened to get together into turn 3.
Just trying to hold off the charge from Zini.
And then upside down I went.
That's one car up and over, red flag, big time, big trouble.
When that bug hit him, when he was ready, it was his passion. I mean, we didn't stop.
2021 was definitely my highlight year, and was able to get really good at midget. I was at the peak of my career for sure as of right now.
Top 5 guy pretty consistently in all the midget ranks.
The wreck itself, I knew it was bad, but I had gotten so acclimated to he was always all right. He got out.
I don't know a thing. I can't tell you anything that happened.
He looked at me and said, Mom, am I paralyzed, as his arm fell off of the stretcher. And he had no recognition that it was even off the stretcher. And I remember thinking, oh, this is bad, you know.
We've been really close, so that one kind of hit home a little bit for me.
Broke C4 and C5, and he'll have to have surgery. I just remember looking at Clint going, he broke his neck.
The doctor asked me, he said, do you want to go tell him or do you want me to? And I said, no, I will.
We were angry because everything had just almost fallen into place, what we had planned, and then it was just taken away. And that was just, I remember thinking it was just feeling like we were kicked in the guts. And what do we do? What have we done? Yeah, we questioned, didn't we?
And I said, son, you've broke your neck. Things aren't good, you know.
And what did he say?
Does this mean I don't get to race Chili Bowl that year?
I said, no, son, you're going to miss this one. That's when tears come to his eyes. He wanted that Chili Bowl to race that so bad. And then right after that, the goal was, what do I need to do? There was never a question that he wasn't going to race again.
I realized at the time that there was a possibility I wouldn't ever, get to walk again, let alone step inside of a race car.
But the next morning when Dr. Lou come in, she just pretty much told us he's an incomplete quadriplegic from now on, and I'm going to do surgery, and we're going to try to fix what we can.
Right after surgery, I had the ventilator in, and I didn't like that at all. I wanted them to get it out, but I couldn't tell them, of course, so I guess I kicked my right leg, and that's like what my mom seen, and she was just very, very blessed because at that time I was still paralyzed, or they didn't know I could move or anything. I think it was maybe a week I could move absolutely everything on my right side. 1.5 weeks to 2 weeks, I started moving my left leg, and at this time, PT was working with me.
He just looks at him and says, I want you to stand me up. And they all were like, no, we are not standing you up. And he said, I need to stand up. I need to see where my failure points are so that I know what to work on in my head. And they stood him up. He had no movement, nothing. And they braced him enough to stand him up. But I remember him saying, okay, you can lay me down now. I know what I got to do.
I was able to get transported to Shepherd Center in Atlanta, and then that's where rehab kind of took off from there.
So when we got to Shepherd, the left leg finally started to move, probably 4 or 5 days after being there. When that happened, the PT and OT were in trouble because he said, I want to walk. And they were like, what? He got back in a car at 9 months. In 4 weeks, we had raced the midget, the micro, and the non-wing sprint car. You know, and you're like, oh my gosh, he's back.
That win was huge. It was a relief of that, like, oh, I can do this again. Very blessed and thankful that I was able to still be able to compete.
Just the sheer will that kid had to get back to where he is today. And every day, every week, he's determined and working to be the best there is.
He has a really healthy, positive mental mindset. And I think that's part of why you see how he is right now, and then maybe before he got hurt, and then through his process of trying to get better when he was hurt.
Why do you let him race again? Well, how can I not? Ask me if I'm nervous and scared. Yes. I tell every lap, I'm nervous, scared, and proud. Every lap, all in the same. And I mean, how can you not be?
This is the suit and shoes and gloves from the November 13th accident where I broke my neck. One of my favorite suits that they had to cut up. So I wasn't very happy about that, but nonetheless, it's cool that we got it here and was probably save it for the rest of my life. My dream, of course, would be NASCAR or World of Outlaws racer. And, if I shoot a little bit short than that, just making a living racing, that'll be a dream come true for sure.
God had lined up all these situations through the last few years that prepared us. We look back now. Daison used to tell us when he was little, I'm built different. I'm built different. God built me different. I'm never going to get hurt.
It's just absolutely unbelievable. Hopefully, it's still not the end of my story.
Road to the Chili Bowl, presented by Super Clean, is brought to you by General Tire. For whatever you do, General Tire delivers. Rod End Supply. We don't just sell them, we race them. And by Lucas Oil. Keep that engine alive.
I think the generation of kids that are coming through the sport are a lot younger in the last decade.
Back when we started in the 90s, you had to be 16. So nowadays you'll see drivers, 13, 14, 15 years old get into midgets and excel.
Everybody thinks they're as good as Kyle or Christopher if they just get that chance.
If a 16-year-old kid goes out and wins the Chili Bowl, he's probably going to get in a pipeline that could lead him somewhere if he keeps doing things right.
I've always heard that winning the Chili Bowl can help your career, but then I can also see how, it might not 100% transpire just because it's a completely different game of its own.
There's no Ganassi or Hendrick contract sitting in the infield when you pull in on Saturday night,
I don't feel like sprint car, midget, road to NASCAR is a thing anymore. And I feel like these kids are getting misled by the involvement of manufacturers in grassroots racing.
You can be the best driver in the world. You got to have the right time, and you got to have a big pocketbook.
It'll be really interesting to see what happens with Buddy, if Buddy gets pulled out and run up the chain to NASCAR, and I sure hope he does.
I had a chance to go there, and I got basically bought out by some other drivers. Then 2018, I ran 13 truck races. But then the next step is you got to bring even more money.
When I won the Chili Bowl those 2 years back to back, all the youth drivers, their big push was NASCAR.
It goes in cycles of what the need is.
I mean, look at Rico, one of the most marketable drivers in racing. They just wanted buku money from him.
We didn't have $10 million invested in myself to get me there.
Toyota could have done numerous things to kind of get Rico to where he needed to be in Cup, being the most marketable driver out there. They failed.
I came back to sprint car racing where I feel appreciated. People appreciate me. I needed to go there to experience that, to realize what I have at home. Come on. Good boy. All right, are you guys ready to start?
Abreu's going to come off of turn number 4, and he's going to get it done. Back-to-back years for Rico Abreu.
Cyclones, Clausen's doing a circular insanity tour. I think that's what that is right there. That's real circular insanity. Listen to the crowd go crazy.
All of a sudden, he's in a wing sprint car out in Northern California, and he's winning races. Then he's winning in a midget. Then he's winning championships. Then he wins the Chili Bowl twice. He's such a great personality. He's always cool to be around, always happy, and he's really been great for the sport.
We went to the races, but I never knew I could actually drive a race car. Once I got to high school, the sports kind of came to an end with my ability of my shortness and stature kind of blocked me from competing at a higher level. And so that's really when racing came into my life. Headed to the ranch. We grew up on a ranch, and I was able to get into a go-kart that I didn't know I could even drive this thing. And I felt comfortable inside the go-kart with just the pedals adjusted just a couple inches. So this is our Madrona Ranch where we grew up. And this is basically a headquarters for my father's vineyard management company, and then where I learned how to raise animals growing up and learned how to race. This is our privately owned dirt track that I grew up racing on. You know, when I first started racing right here, I just ran laps by myself for hours. At that time in my life, I had no idea I'd be a sprint car driver. And I was able to just experience things that I'd never experienced in my life, and that was what hooked me into racing.
Rico Abreu with lap traffic ahead, but right now he's really good. The FVP Hard Knocks night in Knoxville goes to Rico Abreu.
Achondroplasia is the type of dwarfism I was born with. Growing up in a small school and having that small circle of people is they didn't treat me any different than they treat everybody else. They made me feel accepted, and that was, I feel, a big push of why I'm who I am today. There's days I wake up and I don't want anything to do with social media, but that is my business and that's my brand, and that's what helps fund my race team and my livelihood. So it's really important that I balance those emotions and stay positive through those times. Hey guys, hanging out with Gus, living the off season. The weather is beautiful here in California. I hope everybody's doing well. I look forward to seeing everyone at the races coming up soon. See you guys at the Chili Bowl.
He's learned that just racing isn't everything. He's learned how to market himself very, very well. He's out doing other things.
I want to show people that they could go do whatever they want. I'm very competitive, wanting to have the best merchandise, the best marketing, and on top of that, I want people to feel comfortable to approach me. I didn't know I had the ability to even drive a race car, and then let alone have the ability to win a race at the highest level of the sport that I'm competing in. The biggest hurdle that I've had to overcome is accepting who I am and my ability of doing what I love to do. If I could print this perfect vision, perfect image of my career, I would go to the races every weekend and win and have this happy life. But it's really not that. I think it's more just accepting your circumstances in life and being positive and being driven to just being a better person and making people feel appreciated. There's such a bigger picture than just racing, and the racing world is so small compared to the world we live in. Had some good memories here. We've taken our friends' rental cars out on this track, and they didn't come back looking the same, and four-wheelers, and get it all mudded up, and just had fun. That's what life's all about.
There's a lot more to Rico than just a race car driver. You won't find anybody better than, more loving than Rico is.
As I've gotten older, I've really realized that there's people out there that need that confidence and it built into them and to go through things they love. And that's where I feel like I've been really gifted to have that ability to inspire people to go do those things.
How would I describe Tanner? Feisty.
I'm not a qualifier, I'm a racer.
Strong-willed, loyal, very similar. We're both very hard-headed and stubborn.
Tanner Thorson.
Drag race to the stripe.
Tanner Thorson wins it.
Rico and his dad picked me up racing outlaw carts. I mean, we won just about anything you could win in an outlaw cart. It was my turning point, I feel like, in racing. started racing midgets with Larson, Bell, and Rico. I mean, 3 of the best in midget racing. I got my ass beat by them every single weekend.
Rico Abreu wins back-to-back.
Tanner Thorson, he's like family here. He's that little brother that you always want to punch. For about 2.5 years, he was the 4th guy.
I've been an underdog since I started racing midgets.
2 laps to go. Stenhouse, Thorson, Larson.
Thorson dives down to the bottom. We'll see if he makes a run for it.
First time he kind of knocked them guys off and won that first race. Like his motto goes, you know, lion, no sheep. You know, he works on his own stuff. Just the will, the drive, he knows how to survive.
Traffic is starting to get back to normal in series.
We were coming back from Vegas, running with the World of Outlaws down there. Lanes kind of cut down into one in a construction zone, and it started to come over the top of a hill. Didn't have time to get the truck and trailer stopped completely.
After a truck ended up on the right-hand shoulder and then became engulfed. CHP said the driver is well-known NASCAR driver Tanner Thorson.
If I wasn't able to get out of the truck, I probably would have burnt down in the truck because it instantly caught on fire and melted the truck.
Thorson was able to get out, but was also taken to the hospital with major injuries.
Snapped my left arm, completely shattered my foot, broke my sternum, and fractured a couple ribs, and then collapsed the lung. Definitely life-changing, make you realize and appreciate things. I had thoughts for sure that I wasn't gonna be able to race again.
You know, 2019, I about didn't make it in a car accident, and now it's pretty cool.
He thinks he has something to prove, but I don't think he does. He's going to be a factor. Anywhere you go, you know he's the guy to beat.
My wife, she hates every bit of the late nights, but she realizes it has to be done. When the cars leave this shop, that's your value. They better be right. Something about that day, I felt like I was winning it.
See Bell gonna take a peek to the inside, throw that big slider. Thorson gonna cross him over, coming out turn 2. Still side by side.
2 to go, Tanner Thorson trying to win his first career Lucas Oil Chili Bowl Midget Nationals. Can he get it done? He's gonna come off of turn 4 and get his first Chili Bowl win. Congratulations to Tanner Thorson.
I've been trying a long time, and as soon as I took the checkered, I was more happy for my guys than me. You know, my whole crew's been working hard, and you know, I've been hard on them. I know every little bit matters.
It's something that I will cherish forever.
He built that car from the ground up from a bare frame. Knowing that he had full part in that, I think that's why it was such a huge deal for him and all of us.
I want to be considered a small team.
Data time? Data time, bud.
It makes the winning so much better to be able to do it as a non-factory kind of privateer team.
He doesn't just show up with his helmet bag and jump in behind the wheel, Cole Trickle style.
Did you get his spit pass?
It's been my dream to be able to do my own deal.
He's bounced around a lot over the years in race teams. He's got his own deal this year. We'll see how he does as a driver owner this year, trying to defend that title at the Chili Bowl, going up against all those big teams that he's driven for in the past. Kind of debuted his car at the end of last year. We'll see if he can back it up in Tulsa this year.
California swing was good for my mindset, I guess. It wasn't good for results in the picture, but definitely learned a lot. We tried a lot.
It's been fun to be able to kind of develop these a little bit on my stuff. We weren't the first ones by any means to go to a 4-coil over car because they were obviously old school stuff back in the day, but we were the first one to come back to them in this era, I guess. I don't know, what do you think, Brent?
Corner to corner, you know, left front to right rear just looks really clean. Like with the bars, I just think it can get lazy. And like with these coils, you know, the transitions of weight so much better.
The old 2.4 written frame, this thing's a haul, bud.
I was able to leave there knowing that I have a really good car and got some good notes to take into Chili Bowl for some new stuff. I'm gonna bring another badass race car into that expo center and got some new things we're gonna showcase and do. So we're gonna go try to defend our Chili Bowl championship. It's go time, baby.
Road to the Chili Bowl, presented by Super Clean, is brought to you by Lucas Oil. Keep that engine alive. General Tire. For whatever you do, General Tire delivers. And by Super Clean. Not just clean, super clean.
When you look at engines in midget racing, it's really kind of cyclical. Back when we were racing back in the mid to late 90s, the Dash 12 Gertie Chevy was really the motor to have. Steve Lewis brought Ford motors into play back in the 90s. And nowadays, of course, everyone talks about Toyota.
In 2009, we teamed up with Toyota and really kind of struggled a little bit. Late 2010, they came up with a new platform for their motor. Went out and won Turkey Night at Irwindale with Brian Clausen, and we've been with Toyota ever since.
I ran 2017 for Rusty Kunz, Keith Kunz's brother, with an SR11. That was the first time I ever ran one. As soon as I ran one, and I was like, phew, we got to have this.
We really didn't hear much about Hondas until the Bundy-built Honda came into play.
Well, down on the inside goes Ethan Mitchell.
I think they're going to be one to watch here at Chili Bowl this year.
I was in California working for Honda. A lot of the guys that I had worked with throughout the last few years, you know, had moved from Southern California to North Carolina to work for this Coy Gibbs guy who had started a team. They made me an offer, and I came to North Carolina and started work for Coy Gibbs. He was kind of forced to get rid of the retail side that he had hired me to build. It's a conflict of interest now, so I'm just going to give it to you.
Coy gave us that head start on starting our own business. It was huge.
That was always a dream of mine too, to own my own business, to own my own race team. I had probably reached a point in my life where I probably wasn't going to achieve either one of those dreams. When Ethan was racing outlaw karts, he decided he wanted to go race midgets. Toyota midget engine was the most prominent engine, but it was a $60,000 engine at the time, and there was just no way that I could afford that.
Dad, being an engine builder all his life, he's like, all right, you know, let's give the midget engine a go.
This Honda motor kept coming up in my research of where front-wheel drive drag race guys were making some really serious power out of this thing.
There were multiple times, you know, we thought about giving up on the Honda. It's been a lot of work, a lot more than we ever thought it was gonna be. Tons of instances where we're like, you know, we're over it, we can't do this anymore. I'm tired of going to the racetrack and blowing up or having engine problems. I'm just over it, you know? Turning point for us, I'd say, is just having Dad here with me, you know? He never gives up. I looked at my phone and it said, you need to get to the hospital. Your dad had a heart attack and it ain't looking good.
Basically flatlined as soon as I walked through the doors.
Scary day for me, honestly. Life-changing day, I'd say.
Wound up being in a coma for 3 months.
I think I grew up a lot, honestly. I didn't know how easy I had it until that happened.
Still can't walk to this day, but I'm super grateful to be here.
I think you got a second look on life.
You're just running wide open, under the gun, stressed out. My race team's gotta win, my business has gotta succeed, you know, rah! And you just get knocked down, and like, there's nothing you can do about it.
The beginning of the season was really difficult because I didn't have him here with me.
Working at highlights, look out, contact, hang on, Ethan Mitchell.
It's been a two-man band all year. Zach Dahm, who drove our car this year, he did a lot of the work on his car, which obviously helped us a bunch. He's a seasoned driver, and it showed.
3 and 4, Dahm will get it done here at Port City.
You know Big Bundy is loving that back home in North Carolina right now. John Mitchell, I hope you're awake as your driver just got it done.
Zach winning the championship definitely gives you that little something to hold on to, or that little something to say, man, you know what, we did it. The trophy's right over here behind me. I'm really proud of that because we did work really hard.
It just gave us some validation that the work we'd been doing over the last 3 or 4 years was finally starting to pay off.
I can't do this interview, man. I'm just bawling the whole time. It's ridiculous. Definitely proud to say that, he gave us this business and he's a good man and he would be proud of the job that we've done.
Well, that's enough of the Chili Bowl car. Thanks again for watching T-Mez TV, as always, but we got the camera crew here, and I think it's time for me to do an interview. So, see you later. All right, let's do this.
Thomas Meseraull!
I might even have missed my calling, as my buddy would say, because I'm really good on a street bike. I got into street bikes and was riding wheelies. With doing that, you end up breaking the law. My first year was like 08 with my car. It's just a small team called me and they said, hey, we'd like you to drive. And they wanted, it was like 10 grand. So I sold my whole program. I gave them 10 grand and that was it.
Thomas Meseraull, T-Mez. The dude's a personality.
I still feel like I am a kid, Man, I can't stop looking at the camera. It's because I'm a YouTuber. I'm always just looking at the camera. I'm getting filmed at all angles. There was a camera guy there, and then there was a camera guy over there. I got a camera guy. I guess I am a camera guy. I have a buddy that in drifting, and he got this tattoo, and it said slide or die.
Meanwhile, T-Mez comes up alongside for second. T-Mez throws a slider. He moves up to P2.
We're in a sport where winning is really all that's good enough. That's what makes me drive hard every lap, is just wanting to succeed, wanting to win for the car owners.
They'll shoot out of 4. Here comes T-Mez! Defense. T-Mez gets in the gas. T-Mez wins night 1 of Midget Week.
He is a flat out, wears his emotions on his sleeve.
What everybody stuck around for, Thomas Meseraull.
He's great when he's on the racetrack from the announcing standpoint because the fans love to see him every time he comes out.
I love you guys. Thanks for coming out. Really, I feel like I've had a chip on my shoulder a lot of the times, and that's kind of driven me to be successful or just to not give up, not even be successful.
He's a racer. Meseraull just wants to earn enough money to pay for the mortgage.
My bleeders never but his work fine.
No, we drove all the way across the country to let one of the rental rides have it.
Don't give up. I feel like that's the key. I've actually had to kind of claw my way to the top here.
I tend to pull the stack heats, but I like to think it's stacked because I'm there too. Hey, let's not forget, this thing came out of the B main. We started 13th and drove by everybody.
I'm just a little bit more real than a lot of the guys that are racing who maybe don't have the same struggles, and good for them, good for their parents for not putting them through that.
I think for a lot of the fans, he's very relatable.
I laid carpet for 10 years and crawled around a lot of floors and rolled up a lot of dirty, peed-on carpet, and I don't want to do that.
He's racing to put food on the table for his children.
Having kids has helped my racing because I think it calmed me down. Oh, I wish I had that much energy. Somebody's coming. It's the toughest job I've ever had. I have cried myself to sleep because I'm doing this by myself. I wouldn't have thought I was capable, but everybody's capable. I love my kids. You just kind of do what needs to be done.
I think T-Mez winning the Chili Bowl, I think that'd blow the roof off the center there in Tulsa.
It's been a long road to get where I'm at. A lot of people might do it 10 years sooner. I think now that's why on my YouTube channel, I'm always pushing, living my best life because I really am. Let's get in and do this. I'm doing what a lot of people wish they could do, and man, I love it. I built something from nothing.
Being the underdog and being the guy that was kind of counted out, I think that's part of the reason that I've tended to run pretty good at Chili Bowl. It's easier for me to come in as the guy that people aren't necessarily putting their money on. I'd taken a couple of years off of doing the full midget schedule. I was driving for Rams Racing. We got to be friendly with the RMS guys. Been racing with them for a couple of years now. Now I'm beyond what I thought was, possible for me. I really love dirt track racing and I'm happy doing it.
What attracted me to Justin was a lot of his confidence. He's very smart, really good with setup, and I think a lot of it may have been that he's a lot like my dad and a lot of what I loved in a man.
And I'm perfect, so. Yeah.
How's that bread, Bubba? Good.
When we're at the track, Justin is very focused.
It's different.
Yeah, right.
I feel like it lets it sit on the left rear bar more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's like you put some pressure to it and then it lights right more.
Yeah.
Off track, Justin is a great dad and very supportive of me and my own career. It's really important to me to have my own identity, and I think that's important for our relationship.
When I first moved back here, I was, I think I can say I was broke. And bought a Pontiac Sunfire, and I had like $500 left over and a duffel bag full of clothes, and I went to work for Jeff Walker on his team. He said, I have your sprint car team and you live in the shop, stay in the loft, and I'll give you $300 a week. And I thought I was living the dream. Wasn't really having any success, and I was starting to get frustrated, and then we found out Ashley was pregnant, and then we found out we had twins coming, and there was a big rush of, this is not going to work. Like, I'm gonna have to do something different. And I was gonna go drive a dump truck for Bob Fox at Fox Paving. The week before I was supposed to start, the McGee's called me and asked if I wanted to come and run their car at Bloomington. I told him no.
He was in a mood.
Yeah. She talked me into calling him back. We won Bloomington, and I came home with a bunch of money in my pocket, like more than doubled my net worth at the time. Call Bob, it's like 4:30 in the morning, call him like, hey, I'm not gonna make it. And he's like, I know, I watched the races. I'm like, okay, and he's like, that's good. He said, you're a race car driver, not a dump truck driver.
I should be ecstatic up here. I feel like I let my guys down a little bit.
Good run to third. Now you got to go home and hug those new twins, buddy. Justin Grant.
Everything really turned around with like a couple of really pivotal moments that very easily could have not worked out, or I could have just stayed in the mood and not called him back, so.
Justin Grant, the 2020 USAC Silver Crown Champ Cars Series champion.
Amsoy USAC National Champion for the first time from Ione, California, JG Justin Grant.
I didn't have any of this really on my radar. Certainly very thankful. Just never really thought I'd be here or be able to be as successful as I've been. But once you've kind of been through it and done it all, people don't accidentally make it through. Everybody that's kind of made it through and excels at it, excels because they've put in a ton of work and a ton of effort. They feel like there's a lot of mutual respect among the top guys because of that. Rolled into Turkey night. We decided just to skip the practice day. Went out the Saturday and rolled off 13th, which 100-lap race, right? Like, if you're good enough to win it, you can win it from anywhere.
Justin Grant rolled from the 13th starting spot, fought his way up to the front, and he will win the 81st running of the Turkey Night Grand Prix at Ventura Raceway.
Coming off a big win helps going into the winter. Racing's just such a neat world, and everybody kind of has a different story of how they got here or why they're here, but at the end of the day, there's one goal, right? It's to win the race.
A little bit of change of plans for Chili Bowl. I'll be with AME with Andy Reinbold and Tammy Reinbold. This car's got some good experience around the expo, and they know definitely how to get it done. It's just going to be a really good opportunity to kind of get my name out there with some different people and get after it.
I come back every year to the Chili Bowl because of the driller. The bottom line, I want to win another driller.
The golden driller sitting on your nightstand, there's something cool about that.
If you can beat 350 plus of the best drivers on the globe and get that golden driller, that's what it's all about.
There's not one person in that building going to make money there.
It's one race that I will say that money doesn't matter.
The aura, the vibe of that building is just amazing.
Chili Bowl is one of the few places that gives me feelings that I don't really get anywhere else. And I feel like it takes a special race and a special event to do that. And Chili Bowl does that every single time.
It's a party, and the fans love it. That's what makes it great.
Just something about that trophy and legacy that Emmett Hahn and his crew have put on there.
It just makes you proud to say that you started this and you've grown with it.
I think every day I am blessed to be a part of the Chili Bowl.
We're gonna go try to defend our Chili Bowl championship. I'm gonna bring another badass race car into that expo center, and I'm excited to go. So let's go.